Hi students, here we are making observations on boiling water. And these are our four sections: senses, what do we see, what do we feel, what can we hear, right? Maybe you can hear something. What questions do we have? What measuring tools do we have? And what hypotheses or what explanations might we have? Okay, so let's take a look at a few things. This is something called the hot plate. Here we can heat things up from a power of 0 off, right? Turn it off for safety, and then a power of 1 all the way to 10. I set it at 8 right now. Kind of want to heat things up quickly. On the stir side, we don't need to worry about that. That is something called a magnetic stirrer, and it'll let chemistry students or chemistry teachers spin and swirl some chemical samples, but we aren't using that right now. For our beaker, you can see we have just about 110, maybe 100, yeah, about 110 milliliters. And for our thermometer, right now it says we're at about 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I'm gonna write down some observations, and while things are bubbling and boiling, right, hopefully you can write down what you see, what you hear. Of course, we're not going to drink, we're not going to smell this, although even standing here, I already smell this kind of hot metal smell. Kind of when we're cooking or heating something up in the chemistry lab, I already smell something coming off of the hot plate. Okay, so senses, what do I see? I already see steam. Okay, where is the steam coming from? The steam seems to be coming off of the plate itself. I think that's an equipment issue. Steam is rising. Okay, measuring tools. Our thermometer. Our thermometer started at 25 degrees Celsius. It was probably lower before. But since I turned it on, the temperature has started to rise. You can actually see the thermometer now is almost at 40. Okay, it's almost at 40 degrees. Okay, steam rising. I see bubbles forming at the bottom of the glass. You see bubbles forming at the bottom of the glass right here? Oh, I don't want to get too close. Ooh, I can feel the heat. I can feel the heat rising. On the side, so you can see on the side, I can get pretty close without touching. I'm not going to touch it. Oh, touching it would be a bad idea. But I can come up on the side and I can bring my hand pretty close. But coming from the top, this is already uncomfortable here, getting too close. Okay, so I can come up to the hot plate from the side. I can get pretty close without feeling anything. I'm too scared to touch it, right, because it's very hot. But coming from the top, I already feel the heat, and I feel, okay, and right here is about too close. I don't want to get too close. All right. So I feel heat from the top, but not the bottom. So the top, or the air on top feels warm. The air on the sides is not warm. Ooh, and we've got some action going on here. We see the bubbles are getting bigger. I see the bubbles are getting bigger. Some bubbles are rising to the top. The temperature on the thermometer says 60 degrees now. So what questions might we have? Okay. Will the temperature keep going up forever? So if we left this hot plate on, right now it's on setting number 8. If we just leave the water on the hot plate, will the water temperature, will this thermometer, will it go to 70, 80, 90, 100, 110? If we had a bigger thermometer, would it go up to 120, all the way to 200 degrees? That's a question that we might have. Will the temperature keep going up forever? What's another one? Oh, will the water heat faster or boil faster if set at 10? So what if we turn this knob to 10? Would this boil faster? And that would be an experiment, right? How long does water take to boil at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Okay, what's our temperature now? We're at close to 75. Okay, and so your notes, your making observations worksheet doesn't have to look the same as mine. Your group will be seeing different things. Maybe the room and the equipment will be different, but here are the things that I sensed. I see bubbles forming at the bottom. I felt the air above the hot plate feels warm. The air on the sides are not warm. I see that the bubbles are getting bigger. I see steam rising. Okay, I don't know if you can see the bubbles are getting bigger and they're rising to the top. Oh, that's a question. What are the bubbles made out of? What are the bubbles made of? What's inside the bubbles? What are the bubbles made of? What do I hear? I hear something. I don't know if you can hear. Do you hear a rumbling sound? A bubbling sound? Then I don't know if you can see it. I'll try to get as close as I can. Can you see that the water is wavy? If you're looking inside the water, there's some deformations, there's some wrinkles. I'm hoping we can see it. There's some distortion, right? So there's some waves or some wrinkles in the water. Still water looks perfectly clear, but this boiling water, there's some waves traveling through it. Now the bubbles are getting more rapid fire and there's steam coming out the top. Oh, let's check the temperature. What's our temperature? Our temperature, thermometer says 98 degrees Celsius. And you gotta be careful, 98 degrees Celsius, this is boiling water now. 98 degrees Fahrenheit, that is human body temperature. So right now, my body temperature is 98 degrees Celsius, 98 degrees Fahrenheit, but if I touched the 98 degrees Celsius water, I would definitely be burned, okay? So if I get close to the steam, right, just about right here is where I feel comfortable. If I get any closer, I feel like it's gonna burn me. All right, and now we are at above 100. We're at above 100. And the bubbling gets really intense. Okay, the bubbling gets really intense. And we see steam. Okay, so compared to our last activity about making observations on ice, you can see there's no condensation on the outside, but if you look inside, I'll use my marker. Okay, there's condensation actually on the outside, on the inside, sorry. So outside here, it's not condensation. Inside, there's condensation. So I see that there's water forming on the inside. Where's that water coming from? Well, here's a hint. There's this steam or smoke. It's steam coming up, and as it touches the glass, it turns into water. You see our temperature, it's still at about 105. It's a little bit above 100. Do you think it's ever going to reach 110? Do you think it'll, if we got a bigger thermometer, would it go above 110, maybe to 120? So those are the questions that you should be asking. But keep in mind that my questions could be different from your questions. What I sense could be different from what you sense. We're using the same tools, so my thermometer should be just about the same if we're using the same thermometer. And then hypotheses, of course, you can do it for homework. Try to answer the questions. Maybe you can write an explanation. Why do you see bubbles forming at the bottom? Why do you think the air on the sides is not warm, but the air on top is very hot? Okay. And do you think the water temperature can go far above 100? Are we even getting to 110? We're not even close to 110 right now. We're still stuck at about 105, 105 degrees Celsius. Okay, so keep in mind this hypothesis section, you use it to write explanations of what you observed and try to answer, think of an answer to some of the questions. If you don't have any questions, ask the rest of your group and try to write down an explanation or an answer. What do you think? It's a hypothesis. Of course, for measuring tools, in the future we'll have more measuring tools, but it's just good to have a section here of keeping track. Oh, I should write this down, of course. Bubbles formed at about 60 degrees and boiling at 105 degrees Celsius. Okay, it looks like we're at our maximum. So measuring tools, boiling stays at 105. So what it seems like is our water isn't going to reach above 105 degrees. Even if I left it here, even if I turned it up to 10, I'll turn it up to 10. Okay, we'll turn it up to 9. I don't think it's going to get much hotter than that. It there for about a minute. I don't see the temperature going up, so I'm going to turn this off. Just because I turned off the machine doesn't mean that this is cool now, as in this white hot plate, even though the light's off, the temperature is still very, very hot. And you see the water is still boiling. So even though the hot plates are off, there's still heat there. Okay. All right. And maybe in the future, another question would be that you can have is after you're done boiling, after this entire making observations, we've been making observations for about 10 minutes, do you think the water level will be lower? And I think so. I'm waiting for the water to stop bubbling, but it looks like the water level has gone down from about 110 or 115 down to 100. Okay, so that's another thing you can write down. Measuring tools. The beakers have measurements of milliliters, ml or milliliters, and we started out at about 110, and this whole time while boiling, the water level has dropped to 100. Okay, so that was making observations for boiling water. You fill out the worksheet and then neatly copy all of those notes into your science notebook. Okay, thanks for watching.